You've probably heard dried fruits are just sugar bombs, but certain ones, eaten before bed, can actually fuel your muscles overnight. Science shows these four help restore strength while you sleep. Stay with me. Number 2 works faster than you'd expect. The Japanese physician Dr. Shigeki Hinohara, who lived to be over 100, once said, "Our body is like a small machine. It needs fuel even when it's at rest, and especially when it's repairing." He was right. A machine left to run on empty will grind itself down, but a machine given the right steady fuel, even in the quiet hours, will last longer and move more smoothly. Modern science echoes this truth. Dr. Mark Hyman reminds us that aging is not simply the passing of time, but the accumulation of inflammation and nutrient debt. Every day, every night, our choices either repay that debt or deepen it. And dried fruits, when eaten wisely at the right time, can become small but powerful medicines for the body that longs to heal itself. Perhaps you've wondered why some seniors, even in their 70s or 80s, seem to regain energy, to walk with steadier steps, to rise from a chair with less struggle while others the same age continue to weaken. The answer, surprisingly, may begin with something as simple as the food eaten before bed. Not large meals, not heavy plates, but small acts of nourishment timed with care. And that is the path we will walk together in this conversation. Tonight's snack, tomorrow's strength. 4 often overlooked dried fruits that can help feed your muscles during sleep, restore some of the energy lost in silence, and remind you that even now, there is still a way forward. One step, one choice, one evening at a time. There is a kind of sleep that restores, and a kind of sleep that slowly empties you. Many older adults go to bed believing they are resting, but in truth their body is quietly breaking down what little muscle they still have. When the evening meal is too light, when the body is left without enough stored energy, the night becomes a time not of repair but of erosion. You wake up feeling weaker even though you've done nothing at all. This is what I call empty sleep. It is like closing your eyes expecting renewal, but opening them to discover that a little more of your strength has slipped away. Muscle loss with age is not only about how much you move in the day, it is also about how deeply you nourish yourself at night. Doctors have a word for this weakening: sarcopenia. It sounds technical, but it is simply the thinning of muscle that makes chairs feel harder to rise from, that makes a single step feel heavier than it should. Many believe this comes only from sitting too much, from not exercising. But often it comes from the body being quietly starved of the nutrients it needs during its deepest hours of healing. Some try to protect themselves by eating less at night. They say, "I want to rest my stomach," or "dinner makes me heavy." After 60, it is common to shrink the evening meal to almost nothing. But what seems wise can turn into a slow betrayal. The legs grow softer, the back bends with more effort, and the arms lose their grip, not because of age alone, but because the body has been asked to repair itself with nothing to build from. Each night without nourishment chips away at strength until even a short walk feels like a climb. Science helps us see this clearly. Amino acids, the building blocks of protein, and minerals such as magnesium, potassium, and iron are the quiet workers of recovery. They are the ones who stitch the muscle fibers, soothe the nerves, and prepare you to rise stronger. Without them, the body spends the night borrowing from its own tissues, like a household living on savings it cannot replace. But dried fruits, small as they are, carry many of these nutrients in natural balance. They may not be a steak or a heavy dish, but they offer gentle support that is easier to digest, especially in the calm of the night. I once heard the story of a retired carpenter. For decades he built furniture with his hands, lifted wood, climbed ladders. Strong legs, strong back, strong grip. But one day, after years of lighter meals and quiet evenings, he realized that his chair, the same chair he had always risen from, felt like a mountain. His thighs no longer answered, his back no longer pushed. The strength that had carried him through a lifetime of work was fading. Not with noise, but with silence. And when he looked back, he understood. It wasn't only time that had taken his strength. It was the long habit of going to bed undernourished night after night. This is the danger that too many overlook. Not dramatic illness, not sudden collapse, but the steady draining of muscle in the hours of rest. A loss that shows itself not all at once, but little by little, in the smallest of daily acts: standing, reaching, climbing. And yet, once seen clearly, it is not beyond reach. Because just as strength is lost in silence, it can also be fed in silence, with simple, thoughtful choices before the night begins. Among the foods that have walked with humanity for centuries, dried fruits have a quiet dignity. They are small, humble, and often overlooked. Yet in their concentrated sweetness and dense nutrition, they carry the memory of the sun that ripened them, the soil that fed them, and the tradition of countless generations who leaned on them for energy. For those seeking to maintain strength after 60, these 4 dried fruits can serve as gentle allies in the silent hours of sleep, helping the body repair what daily life has worn away. Dates are perhaps the most ancient of them all. For thousands of years, they have been the bread of the desert carried by travelers to survive long nights. Within a single date lies a steady source of glucose, the body's preferred energy for repairing tissue, along with potassium to keep muscles from tightening in fatigue. One small fruit, taken at the close of the day, can help preserve glycogen in the muscles and prevent the body from drawing too deeply from its reserves during sleep. It is not about abundance, but about a steady flame, enough to keep the body from dimming overnight. Dried apricots, golden in their hue, are rich with magnesium and iron. These are not just minerals with technical names, but quiet protectors of the body. Magnesium helps relax both nerves and muscles, reducing the sudden cramps that steal away sleep in older age. Iron carries oxygen to the tissues, making sure that during the night every cell receives the breath it needs for repair. To many elders, an apricot might feel like a sweet indulgence, yet within it is the medicine of balance, ensuring that muscles do not suffer from suffocation in silence. Figs are another ancient gift. Their soft flesh, when dried, becomes a blend of natural fiber and calcium. Fiber keeps digestion steady through the night, preventing the heaviness that disturbs rest, while calcium supports the rhythm of muscle contractions that continue even as we sleep. The heart, after all, is a muscle that never pauses, and the tiny twitches of repair that happen during deep rest depend on calcium's quiet presence. To eat a fig before bed is to remember that nourishment is not only about filling the stomach, but about giving the body what it needs to continue its hidden work. Then there are raisins, small, dark, and powerful. They carry antioxidants that sweep away the wear of the day, and boron, a trace mineral often forgotten, yet deeply important for bone health and hormonal balance. For older men, boron supports testosterone, which in turn helps maintain muscle mass. For women, it helps preserve the integrity of bones, guarding against fragility. In every handful of raisins lies a concentrated memory of the vine, a reminder that even what is small can hold immense power. There is a story told of a 72-year-old former tennis coach. For years, his calves weakened until the court he once loved felt like foreign ground. Then he began a quiet ritual. Each night, he placed 4 dried fruits in a small bowl, a date, an apricot, a fig, and a few raisins. He would sit by the window, eat them slowly, and then let the night carry their nourishment into his body. Within 2 months, his calves had regained tone, his steps carried more stability, and his mornings no longer began with the fear of falling. It was not a miracle, nor a sudden cure, but the slow return of strength through a habit both simple and profound. These 4 dried fruits, modest as they seem, hold within them the balance of sugar, minerals, and fiber that an older body craves at night. They do not overwhelm, they do not weigh heavy, and they do not complicate digestion. They simply offer the body what it needs to quietly restore itself. In their sweetness lies not indulgence, but a form of care that carries you through the night and gives your muscles a chance to rise with you in the morning. Sweetness can be both a gift and a burden. Dried fruits concentrated by the sun and preserved by time are naturally rich in sugars. This is what makes them powerful, but also what can disturb the fragile balance of an older body. Eaten alone, especially in larger amounts, they may cause a sudden rise in blood sugar, followed by the restless stirring of the night. The key is not to abandon them, but to understand how to pair them with steadiness, so their nourishment flows gently instead of rushing like a flood. One of the simplest ways to soften this rush is through companionship with healthy fats. A single date or a few raisins taken alongside a spoonful of nut butter or a small cube of cheese slows the release of sugars into the bloodstream. The body receives its energy as a slow trickle rather than a burst, allowing the muscles to draw from it steadily through the night. This quiet partnership between fruit and fat becomes a bridge, sweetness on one side, stability on the other. But here is where wisdom matters most. It is not the fruit itself that harms, but the excess. Dried fruits are dense and too many can overwhelm the system. A handful becomes heavy, and what was meant to heal may instead disturb. With age, the body does not need abundance, it needs balance. Small portions, chosen with care, are often more powerful than large servings that weigh on the stomach and cloud the night. Traditional wisdom also has its voice here. In Ayurveda, an ancient Indian system of health, dried fruits are often soaked before being eaten. The soaking softens their fibers, eases digestion, and makes their nutrients more accessible. What was once dry and dense becomes gentle and easier to receive. It is a ritual that transforms not only the fruit, but the body's relationship with it, a reminder that even small preparations can carry healing. There is a story of a grandfather, recently widowed, who found his evenings sinking into silence. To fill the emptiness, he began preparing a warm oat drink before bed. Into it, he would mix small pieces of dried fruit, a few raisins, a chopped apricot, a softened fig. The warmth carried the sweetness into his body slowly, while the ritual itself soothed his loneliness. Over time, his sleep deepened, and his mornings grew lighter. He told his daughter one day, "It feels as if I am being held through the night." Pairing dried fruits wisely is less about avoiding danger and more about offering harmony to the body. It is about recognizing that strength comes not only from what you eat, but from how it is received. With balance, small rituals, and gentle awareness, even the sweetest foods can become steady companions in the quiet work of restoring strength while you sleep. Strength is not truly built during the hours of movement. It is built in the quiet when the body turns inward to repair what the day has worn down. After 60, this connection between sleep and muscle becomes even more delicate. Many believe that the gym or the walk is where strength is made, but in truth, it is during the night that muscles are knit back together, nerves are calmed, and energy is restored. Without deep rest, the day's efforts are left unfinished, and the body begins to unravel its own fabric. Certain foods, often overlooked, can gently encourage this repair. Figs, for instance, contain tryptophan, an amino acid that helps release melatonin, the hormone that signals sleep. When the body drifts into deeper rest, muscle regeneration follows. This is why food is never only about energy. It is about rhythm, about guiding the body toward the cycles of restoration that make waking up feel steady instead of fragile. The Japanese speak of living light. It does not mean avoiding food at night, but choosing it with intention. A small portion, gentle on the stomach, but rich enough to fuel the body's work of recovery. A single dried fruit paired with something grounding. A warm drink with a soft sweetness. These acts do not weigh you down, they guide you into rest. They remind the body that it is safe to release, to repair, to let go of the fight for a while. There are also rituals that do more than feed the muscles, they prepare the heart and mind for sleep. A 10-minute pause in the evening, a basin of warm water to soak the feet, a bowl with a few softened dried fruits, and perhaps a notebook where the day's worries are laid down in writing. These are not luxuries, but signals to the body that it may enter the night with trust. Muscles respond to this just as much as to nutrients. A calmed nervous system, a nourished stomach, and a softened heart create the conditions where strength can be quietly rebuilt. One caregiver once shared her experience with her father, who had grown frail after years of restless nights. She began preparing a small bowl of dried fruits for him every evening. It became their ritual, simple, almost unnoticeable, but consistent. Over time, she saw a change. The falls became fewer. The mornings began with less hesitation. His steps, though still careful, carried more certainty. It was not dramatic, but it was real. Nourishment, rest, and routine had given him back a measure of trust in his own body. This is the bond between sleep and muscle after 60. One cannot exist without the other. To eat lightly but wisely before bed, to create space for rest, to welcome rituals that soothe. These are not just habits. They are threads that weave together the fabric of resilience, allowing both sleep and strength to rise side by side. There is a quiet fear that accompanies aging. The fear of waking in the morning and feeling the legs hesitate. The fear of reaching for a wall to steady oneself. The fear of not trusting the body that once carried you so freely. Each small loss whispers the question, will tomorrow take away even more? These are not dramatic moments, but they are heavy. They sit in the heart of many who have grown older, and they deserve to be acknowledged with tenderness. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara once offered an image that speaks directly to this truth. Energy is borrowed, not owned. What you feed yourself at night, you'll feel the next morning. His words remind us that strength does not appear from nowhere. It is not a gift that falls upon us, but a loan that must be renewed daily. And the evening meal, no matter how small, is part of that renewal. When the body receives even a little of what it needs before sleep, the morning can arrive not with weakness, but with quiet stability. Dr. Mark Hyman has also said that aging is not about the simple passing of years, but about the signals we give our body over and over again. Signals of inflammation, of depletion, of neglect, or signals of nourishment, care, and consistency. Dried fruits, humble as they are, can be one of those signals. Not a cure, not a miracle, but a message to the body. You are supported. You are not empty. You may rebuild tonight. Small choices repeated carry the weight of transformation. Perhaps the greatest shift is not only physical, but in the way we think about food and night. Many have been taught to fear eating in the evening, to believe that nourishment after sunset harms rather than helps. But what is truly harmful is the absence of fuel when the body is working hardest to restore itself. To rethink this belief is to open the door to strength once more, not through heavy meals, but through small, thoughtful acts of feeding that honor the body's needs. So let tonight be different from the last. Not with grand gestures, not with overwhelming change, but with intention. One fruit, one ritual, one gentle act of care. Tomorrow's strength begins not with the sunrise, but with the choice you make before you close your eyes. Strength is not built overnight, but it is most certainly fed every night. And before we close, a question to reflect on. Which evening habit gives you the most energy the next morning? Your answer, shared with others, may become the encouragement someone else needs to take their first step toward renewal.